if you want to be an actor, you need to be acting is the bottom line. The thing that I respond to the most, besides talent, is someone's passion, can-do spirit, who's just going to go for it, will do whatever it takes. They have to want it as much as we want it for them. You need to want it more than anyone, frankly. And we also then want it for you. So that's the first thing I would say.
If you've got something, let it rip.
I'm never going to do this again.
Everybody grapples with this idea that you're really a fraud.
Like, I'm alive.
And that's when it clicked with me. I thought, these are not superheroes. These are just men that can do super things.
This is Matt Del Negro, and you are listening to the new stripped down 10,000 Nos. All right, I'm going to keep this intro short, but I am going to say we had another Let's Shoot the Rehearsal weekend intensive on-camera retreat last week in New York City. It was really awesome. These things are really exceeding my expectations. The reason I bring it up, because it's all about getting miles on the road, you know, getting footage for your reel, getting training, working on a scene in depth. And you're going to hear Becca Kovacik talk today about actors act. You know, at the end of the day, we talk a lot about strategy, about relationships with your manager, with your agent. But at the end of the day, she kind of says, the bottom line is get out there and do it. You got to actually, if you don't have, you know, official gigs, then go grab your friends and grab an iPhone and get something done. So if you are ever interested in any of the offerings we have, I'm not sure when the next Let's Shoot the Rehearsal will be, but just email us, info@10,000nos.com. I do that. I do 10,000 Nos Insiders. So whatever you need, we are here for you. In the meantime, here's Becca Kovacik.
What we do here is go back.
Everybody, we got Becca Kovacik, manager extraordinaire in the house. Just to give everybody the lowdown, Becca and I have worked together for, I don't even know how many years, but I'm guessing it's definitely over, it's probably around 13-ish.
Yeah.
One of the things I'll say, Becca is so humble and kind that I forget until I said, send me your bio. And she sends me some of the people that she represents and some of the things that she's done. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, and I'm like kind of pinching myself that she represents me, because she really has a classy list of clients and she's done so much. And prior to being a manager was in PR. So she's got a really unique perspective on the business and I think can be helpful to everyone. And also being a producer on projects for her clients like Kenneth Branagh. Right now, they just have a movie that was Belfast that it wasn't released yet, or it's
November 12th in the
November
state.
12th. Oh, so this is actually really exciting that it's coming out in less than 2 weeks, and we can get to that later. For now, I think a good place to start is a lot of people on the call. Some of them have an agent, some of them have a manager, some have neither, some have both. It would be interesting to hear your version of the difference between an agent and a manager and what you can do for your clients versus what an agency might do. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Matt. Really appreciate being here. It's fun to be in this forum and to meet everyone. And thank you for that nice introduction. I really appreciate that. I usually say the main difference between an agent and a manager is that an agent is a specialist and a manager is a generalist. You know, it feels like sort of, you know, the manager's almost like the CEO of the client's company. And our job is to oversee all of the departments. So we oversee the agent, we oversee the publicist, we oversee not so much the business manager, but the attorney. Everything that has to do with the client's work in any regard falls into our buckets. You know, an agent's job is really mainly to get jobs for people. So it's to get the auditions, it's to get the offers, it's to help negotiate the deal. And that's really their prime job. And managers you want a proactive manager. We are proactive managers. And those people also help get their clients auditions and work and help broker relationships and, you know, sort of make sure that when there's a lead or a bite or, you know, a client's given a great audition and got great feedback, that we're following up, the agency's following up, because of course the goal is to help land that job. So you obviously have to do your work and give your best audition. And then, you know, once you've done that, then it's on us to kind of keep massaging it and moving it along and finessing it. So I'm now getting more specific, but mostly we oversee kind of a bit of everything, and agents have a much more specific job than we do, but our job overlaps with what agents do, because frankly, no one brings on a manager, who's not going to be getting you auditions, because that's, we want to work. So you want a manager who's proactive and who's also supplementing what the agent's doing in terms of getting opportunities.
Do you have an opinion on whether it's better, if there are people in the group who have neither at this point, better to seek out a manager first and then an agent, or an agent first and then the manager? What's your opinion on that? I know for us, I can't remember when I came to you, if I had an agent or I was between agencies. I actually can't remember, but I do remember we did search and find Marion together, and these guys have all met Marion. But do you have thoughts of like, it's better if you're going to go with someone first, go with the manager or an agent? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do have a thought. I mean, first of all, I think when you're starting your career, you're at a certain place in your career. I mean, if you can get an agent or a manager, that's good. You should get whichever one you can get, that's good. But I think if one had their choice, I would say, and maybe I'm saying this because I'm biased as a manager, but I would say get a manager first, because I feel like in general, I mean, Matt happens to be close to both of us. So both me and Marion, he's very close to. But often agents are busy. They have a lot of clients. So your closer relationship tends to be with your manager, who one would hope has many fewer clients and can be more strategic with you, and, has their eyes on everything. I think a manager should have fewer clients, because you have a larger purview, and our job is to partner with our clients to help attain their goals, and in order to do that, you need to have some time. So we keep our list smaller. Agents have a much bigger list. Typically, one's closer relationship is to their manager. And so you want to find that person that you are connected with. And then you together with, I think it's better to find the agent, because you want to find the agent who works well with your manager, who the manager feels like will really deliver for you. So I think if one has a choice, then I would suggest finding a manager first, and then the two of you together figuring out who the best agency partner is. But again, if you find a great agent first, fantastic. And then it works opposite. And then you find, you ask the agent who, they like to work with in terms of management, and you can go that way as well. But I think in a perfect world, I would suggest management first.
One of the things that I get from Becca and Marion, I think she's got great taste, and she is very nice, but also willing to say, I think I gave the example that was embarrassing to me, and Becca, you'll remember this, it wasn't that long ago, the Pete Berg Netflix thing that I just found out went to Taylor Kish. I was like, okay. I made that tape. I really, I was like, I want this, I'm going to go for it. And I did this whole thing where I went and I was like, digging in the backyard and cutting to this thing, and I had music over it. And I don't generally do that, but I was like, oh, screw it, I'm going to go for it. And you watched it, and you were like, okay. And then I was like, well, what do you think? Is the music cheesy? And you were like, in the nicest way, like, it's interesting you use that word. Maybe it's a little distracting, and you could try to, and I kind of tweaked it, but I mention it just to say your manager in a perfect world has your back. So they're going to fight for you when you're really right for something. They're also going to be honest enough with you when you do something that's well-intended, and you can disagree with them, by the way. I kept a version of that but I took out the music. But they're going to disagree with you in order to help you. They're not just like, you don't want someone with you who's just going to go, yeah, Matt, you're great, because that's not really helpful either. So maybe we could just kind of touch on that, your personal stance on just like how you work the creative relationship with your client, because I know we've had these conversations about, you just told me recently, I'd rather you not work than go work and do something that's not good for you. How do you do it yourself? And then what do you suggest are like pitfalls for people to look at when they meet with managers, and the manager is either too yes, or whatever. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. There are lots of pieces to that. I mean, I guess in terms of auditions, it's tricky. I mean, it's interesting that you use that example because I mean, you did really go for it and you took a risk, which I really applaud. So, I certainly don't want to ever, shoot down that type of courage, that's amazing. So that was really, really terrific, and I think it was good because I think we partnered up to figure out how you could keep a piece of what you wanted to show and maybe make it an adjustment. But I think the tricky thing is that what makes each actor special is what is special about you. It's what you bring to the table, what your take is on a character, which comes from your entire history, your whole life. You read a character one person may read a character one way, one person may read it another way. And that's what's so interesting about this job is that you can play a character in so many different ways. I mean, obviously you start with what's on the page and sometimes it's very clear. And maybe depending on the role, maybe there isn't as much latitude. But the tricky part about the creative process in terms of auditions and things is that, for instance, Matt will come with a take on a character. I might read something and see it one way. Matt then will do an audition, which is different than how I expected it to be, but it's cool. So, and interesting. So I don't like to get too much in the way of the actor's creative process because I think that's what makes you special and unique. And who am I to say, unless I feel like someone's way off base and it's never going to fly because it just doesn't seem right. You need to do what you feel. And that's what's going to shine through and, will ultimately determine whether you're right for the part or not right for the part. From the actual acting process, I don't like to interfere too much unless I'm asked, or unless I feel like it's a real misstep, if an actor feels unsure about the choices and wants an opinion, or if it's, like I said, I feel like it's completely in, a different direction than what it feels like they're going for, then I'll say something. So, I mean, the other part that you're addressing, Matt, is I think a bit more of the creative strategy, and as Matt said, I think one thing that we're very good at, I think at our company, and hopefully this is something you do want to look for in a manager in particular, is we really try to listen to the client and listen to what the client wants to do and what the client's goals are. And not every client, I mean, of course, every actor wants to work, but beyond that, there may be more very specific goals. And we really like to hear what those are, and we've had lots of conversations, with Matt about, sort of elevating, and being choosier about material. And that's music to my ears, by the way, because I really, sometimes you have to take a job because you need to work, you need the money, you need to build a resume, whatever it is. So there are, of course, plenty of times where you need to take the jobs that you get. So that's perfectly understandable, but there hopefully will come a place where one can be choosier, and Matt's obviously in that place. And so we've had lots of conversations about, sometimes you don't work for a while and you just really want to work, but the right job hasn't come along. So do you work because you really want to work, or do you wait? And that's what Matt was alluding to. And we've had lots of conversations about waiting for the right jobs. And it seems, where Matt's concerned, that we've really made, I mean, sometimes, Matt's had to wait a long time to work, but then the work that he's done, Matt's always great, but the projects that he's done have gotten better and better. I think that's a strategy that I always support, a creative strategy that I support. And often saying no to something is more powerful than saying yes to something. And it elevates you to some degree, that you're not just going to do any job that comes your way. You're choosy, and that's how one should look at you, and present you with more special opportunities. So, obviously that's an important conversation to have with a client and to understand what that particular client's goals are. Or if you suddenly think, oh my gosh, you would be such a great host, let's just say, or, or Matt wrote a book, and Matt did that on his own, but we were very supportive of that because it was a great idea, that spun off from his podcast. And anyway, so sometimes we'll get an idea of maybe we should try this direction and see how that goes. It's an ongoing conversation with a client that it needs to be updated too. Are we still on track? Is this still the strategy? Do we want to move in a different direction? I had this idea, so that's part of the ongoing conversation.
Yeah. And I think it's important for everybody here. I've had some people in this group say, I'm with an agent or I'm with a manager, but they're not really, like, I'm afraid to ask them. They're not sending me out, and I'm afraid to talk to them about it because I don't want to piss them off. And one of the things that, and it's harder in the beginning of your career because you need more. But one of the things that I think Becca in particular has been really great with is I'm a little bit like Jerry Maguire. I wrote that mission statement that was what I really wanted to do. And I gave it to Becca and Marion. And sometimes I'm like Jerry Maguire. I wake up and go like, what the hell did I do? I just want to go work. And they've been really good about remembering to represent my highest self, me at my most powerful. Because when I wrote that mission statement, it was like me in a mode where I'm like banging my chest and I'm like, screw this, we're going to go for this. And then like sometimes you wake up like a scared little kid, like I just want to work. And I think Becca has been really good about reminding me of that. And so it really is like it's a relationship. It's not one-sided. You're not always like completely in step with each other, but hopefully you have someone that I think Becca knows what I want when I'm in my best head, and I'm not always in my best head, and she'll stick to her guns. And like that's what happened recently where we had this conversation and I was like, I don't know, should I just go work and do these? And that's when Becca said, I think I'd rather you not work than do something that you don't really want to do. And it kind of emboldened me because while it may be scarier, I'm like, okay, she still sees the vision. She still sees it. So finding for you guys, whether you have someone right now or you're looking for someone, and again, easier said than done, but finding someone who really gets you and is championing your highest aspirations, I think is really important, and maybe you're not going to find that the first time out. I mean, I had other managers before Becca, but now we've been together for a long time, but I worked with other people before. And at some point it kind of like, it just no longer was there. Like I felt like I was maybe like out to pasture with them. What else in terms of like, let's say people are looking for representation. By the way, I will just say this so nobody feels, bad if I say it later. I know these guys are chock full of clients and clients that are working. So this is like a hypothetical. I don't think Becca at this point is looking for any new clients, but I'm not sure. So hypothetically, someone here is looking to, they're looking for representation. Are there any red flags where you're like, oh God, don't do that? Are there any things that you've had someone do that you currently represent where you were like, I don't think I'm even looking for another client, and somehow they won their way into your heart and you have a great relationship with them?
It hasn't happened to me in a long, long time that I've found someone that hasn't been either that I've gone after or hasn't been referred by, an agent that we work with or someone, producer or something. So casting director even. I mean, so mostly these days I've gotten referrals. I think when I was a younger manager and I was looking for clients, I mostly found people by events and things. I mean, I think it was, theater, it was comedy shows. It was, I guess mostly in those days, it was those kinds of live events. But the nice thing about this day and age, which is much different, I think if you want to be an actor, you need to be acting is the bottom line. Yeah. The thing that I respond to the most besides talent is someone's passion, can-do spirit, who's just going to go for it, will do whatever it takes. They have to want it as much as we want it for them, or it's just not, for us, it's not a match. We have to feel like we are a real partner. We don't want to be pushing anyone to like do an audition or pushing anyone to, I don't know, go do a play or whatever it is. You need to want it more than anyone, frankly. And we also then want it for you. So that's the first thing I would say. We represent this actress called Kathy Baker, who has been in a million things, Edward Scissorhands, Picket Fences. And I remember saying that she gives advice to younger actors that, if you want to act, you need to be acting. So go find a play to do, go find a short film to do, go, meet your friend who wants to be a director and make some content. And I think Morgan Freeman had said a version of that to her as well. And the nice thing about this day and age is that it's so easy to create your own content. You can write something, you can partner up with people, you can create shorts. And there's so many ways to draw attention to yourself as an actor. And I think another thing that it's important is to figure out who you are as an actor, to be very clear about what roles you want to, can play. And I know every actor wants to do a range, but I think early on you have to sort of distill it down to the essence of who you are and play parts and write material and perform in roles that sort of speak to that. And then I think that hopefully, you can then bring attention to your work. You can invite people to your shows, or you can, you have some videos to actually send to people that you've created if you don't already have a reel together from, acting work that you can share. There's lots of ways then to reach out to people. And I think it's a matter of also talking to friends. And, if you've gone to school, talk to your professors, talk to your friends. Who are they represented by? You're probably hard pressed to find an actor who's fully happy with their representation, because I think every actor wishes they went out more, had more auditions, had more opportunities, had more shots, had more jobs. But people, they have a good relationship with their person. They're pretty effective. Just talk to people. Say you're looking for a manager and agent, get referrals, go to places where you might meet some, and just work, basically, just do whatever you can to work as much as you possibly can when you can in your downtime.
Marianne had said something very similar about knowing yourself, knowing the business, knowing where you are, not limiting yourself to that, but knowing that and helping your representatives help you by just by virtue of knowing it, and then also hustling. You said, call attention to yourself. You could do things on social media. Where does that get to be? At which point you think about you and I, it's not all about calling attention to myself at this point. It's almost, in some places, it's like waiting, holding my bullets for a more specific target. At what point do you feel like, do you have advice for people in the beginning, basically just to kind of do like a look at me, and then eventually shift it once they get their foot in the door?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's what when I was talking about that, I was definitely talking about people who are starting out, who are sort of more at the beginning of their careers and looking for agents and managers and needing to get the attention of representatives, basically. I think at some point then, on social media and things, your posts are more strategic. I mean, they should always be strategic. I mean, when you're posting early on, there should be a purpose behind your posts, but at that stage, it's with the goal of getting representation. But, then as your career moves on and as you work and you're promoting projects, I mean, then it becomes more strategic. And, how do you post? What do you say? I mean, obviously you get guidance then from studios and networks about what to post and things like that. But I think you can still have fun with your social media. I mean, you can still post fun videos and funny things, or, funny observations, and I think that certainly helps build a following. But I think with social media, you always should be strategic, but early on, it's definitely it's always about getting attention, actually, just whether it's getting attention to help find representation, or if it's getting attention to have people tune into your latest work.
We talked a little bit, Becca, about this is later in some of your clients' careers where you're helping them with projects that they're writing and directing their own films. One of Becca's clients, Fran Kranz, I think I put the article in the Facebook group. He's got his film Mass. Did it win Sundance?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't win Sundance.
But it got a good distribution.
Got an audience award at Woodstock, but I got a good distribution deal coming out of Sundance.
Okay. So you've helped people kind of branch from just having acting careers. Do you encourage your clients, like, these guys are looking, if they can write, do you encourage that when they're coming to meet with you, they're telling you, I mean, that's part of the whole package, to be thinking of themselves in terms of like, okay, when I'm pitching myself to a manager, I'm not just compartmentalizing and saying, can you represent me as an actor? It's helpful, actually, if they say, I also write, I've made a short film. Am I right or wrong on that?
I personally think so. Absolutely. I think I love it when our clients have other interests in other areas, and want to pursue other things. I think it's exciting. And I would say that's probably more something to come to a manager with than an agent. Because I imagine when you're starting out, most agencies that you're signing with, well, not necessarily, but they kind of want to focus on one thing. They want to bring you in as an actor, unless you're proven as a writer already and you've already, produced some things that make sense. Then maybe you meet with the agents, both the talent and the lit side of the agency. But I think probably with agents, it's better to be more focused initially on just the acting, which It's tricky saying that, because then when you later say, oh, I want to write too, and, and then they try to introduce you to their lit side, that doesn't always pan out when you're signed as an actor and not signed by the lit department. So it's a bit tricky, but I do think probably initially it's better to go in with whichever one your passion is. So if you're passionate as an actor, go in with that. If you're more passionate as a writer, then go with that. But I think managers, that part of our job is to be kind of expansive in our thinking and wanting to, we had one client we met with one time said that he always wants all four. He pictures his career as a stove, and he always wants all four burners going. So the writing, the acting, the singing, and I think books. So he always wants all four burners always, percolating and going. And, I thought it was kind of a good analogy, and that as a manager, that is exciting for sure. But I think with agents, I'd be a little bit more specific.
Thanks for listening. Really appreciate you coming over here or watching this on YouTube, however you got to me. Just want to let you know a couple of our offerings. If you go to 10,000nos.com, we have the 10,000 Nos Insiders Community, which is a virtual community where I meet with artists once a week, every Monday for an hour over Zoom, and then every month I bring in an industry VIP. You can also check out my book, 10,000 Nos, How to Overcome Rejection on the Way to Your Yes. If you're interested in private coaching, whether in person or over Zoom, I do that as well. For all this stuff, email info@10,000nos.com. In the subject line, tell us what you want. We do our Let's Shoot the Rehearsal weekend intensive on-camera retreats in New York City and elsewhere throughout the year, every couple of months. So check that out. You can also email us to join the newsletter. I will not flood your inbox. It'll only come once a week. Love to have you in our circle. Thank you for listening. If you really dig it, tell your friends, put it on social media. If you feel like it deserves a 5-star review over at Apple Podcasts, please give us one there. Once again, thank you, and we'll see you next week.